trauma bond affects the body almost like a drug with terrible withdrawal symptoms. The healing process from a trauma-bonded relationship will get a lot of help when you learn to become aware of your body and to take part in physical or mental activities that overcome the stress you suffer. The advice here is not, obviously, professional medical advice, but is given to encourage you to take part in some healthy activities. We carry trauma around with us when we suffer it, in its bodily effects. It makes us sigh, gives us headaches, makes our hearts beat faster. Headaches are triggered when we are tense. Sometimes our jaw is clenched tight, or our head held in such a way that it affects the circulation, and that can set off a headache. If the heart is beating faster because we're stressed, the blood vessels in our heads pound, and we feel it as throbbing pain. The heart beats faster when we strain physically and exert our bodies more, but also even when we don't do any hard physical exercise, but suffer from stress. Exercising to make the heart work faster is usually good for a normal, healthy person, but stressing and getting the heart all worked up while we just sit or stand is not good for us. It makes blood pressure go up, but for nothing. Some people sweat copiously when anxious. Their foreheads run, palms sweat, and most of their skin puts out more moisture. We vary. How many of us, though, remember rushing with a backpack in an airport to get to a plane, and once seated inside, realized that we were soaked? Sweating with exercise is usually healthy. Sweating with stress is not the same, as well as being unpleasant. Our muscles tighten when we are suffering stress. People in a state of trauma suffer all of these physical effects so often over time that their bodies almost mold themselves into bent, tightened positions. Shoulders and neck bend over, hands clench, muscles around our lungs pull tight. Even our swallowing can become difficult. Swallowing reminds us of the stomach. The first thing stress and tension do to the stomach is to make us eat too fast in some cases. Or people may just lose their appetite. Others eat to try to make themselves feel better. Another effect is that when we experience tension, it also causes our stomachs to produce more acid. And combined with not eating enough, or eating too fast, or paradoxically too much, that we start suffering from indigestion. Problems such as stomach ulcers, vomiting and constipation, and the like are not caused just by stress. However, it certainly can make them worse. The way to heal yourself from these and other physical side effects of trauma is not just to exercise or to concentrate and relax. These are good and shall be dealt with soon, but consists in reconnecting your body with your mind. Growing up in a dysfunctional environment and suffering trauma can make a child separate his or her thoughts and feelings from the world. It's an attempt to protect ourselves. Thoughts and sensations may be far from totally obedient to the will, but the physical world is much less controllable to someone who is young. They might try to flee from it into an imaginary world. At the same time, thoughts of pain and confusion actually distract them from their bodies, and the physical symptoms of their stress are just allowed to happen. Physical symptoms can seem unpredictable, so a child doesn't try to understand them so as to alleviate them. Or they can seem inevitable, uncontrollable, and thus not worth tackling. So whatever we can do in our bodies to relieve ourselves from trauma will involve feeling their sensations and learning how to be aware of them again, reconnecting them to our thoughts. Exercises that stretch and relax the parts of the body mentioned as being vulnerable to tension will help. A session in the gym can help one to stop worrying and concentrate instead on one's body, thus relaxing the mind. Yoga and other practices of calm can help us to focus. Breathing techniques, not just in yoga, but in other methods, are a way for us to be aware of our need for fresh air and to breathe it in the best way. Healthy eating and good exercise will make our bodies feel better and thus help a victim of a traumatic relationship to feel less depressed. Foods we actually crave when depressed can even be the type of food to avoid if we want to get better. Craving the rush of lots of sugar has an effect similar to a drug for some. They feel pleasure, but afterwards, once blood sugar falls again, there's an unpleasant sensation. It's also a cycle and can also be addictive. Like breaking the trauma bond itself, it takes time to relearn how to look after your body. But as you begin to do so, your mood will improve. Being under stress for a long time makes our body's hormones overwork. We feel as if we are going to be in a fight, which increases certain hormones, or else being beaten into mental submission. We try to avoid abuse, setting off all the flight sensations of wanting to run away and stimulating the production of those hormones instead. Such hormones are produced rapidly in nature to help us in short, dangerous situations. Instead, abuse victims produce them over long periods. Relaxation and healthy living can adjust our hormones to a good balance and healthier levels. It takes time and healing to unbind our bodies from the trauma that holds us captive. Therapy, support groups, and self-care practices can help release the trauma bond and restore our well-being. Remember, you're not alone. There's hope for breaking free from the trauma bond and reclaiming a life filled with love and happiness.